What is this? What are we doing? What in God's name are we doing?
What?
Our lives. What kind of lives are these? We're like children. We're not men.
No, we're not. We're not men.
Welcome back to Banging the Can, the Houston sports show that does not apologize for championship rings and tings, presented by Bolen Media, with new episodes dropping every Monday and Friday. I am Ross Bolen, and god damn it, I can't take this seesaw anymore. I want to get off the Houston Texans football seesaw. The highs are not high enough, and the lows are smashing my ass into the ground. The Texans lost to the Broncos 18-15 on a last-second field goal, and they lost their starting quarterback, CJ Stroud, to a concussion, and they lost the only person on the team who is capable of scoring points consistently, their kicker, Kade Fairbairn, to a lower body injury. The team's record now sits at 3 wins and 5 losses. 2 games back of the Jacksonville Jaguars, who they play again this upcoming Sunday. 4 wins back of the first-place Colts. Somebody suck me, and I apologize. I apologize for this episode being so late. Usually we drop on Mondays, but the Texans were so ass on Sunday that my 2-year-old son was shitting and puking all over the house Monday and Tuesday because this Texans performance made him so sick. Before delving into the most defeating moments and statistics from Texans versus Broncos, let me reiterate that the Houston Texans defense is fucking awesome. The defense is great. Number 1 in points allowed per game at just 15.1 points allowed per game. I have not seen a better defense in the NFL this season. Do you have any idea how hard it is to be number 1 in points allowed per game when you are 24th in points scored per game? So your defense is constantly on the field. I genuinely feel bad for the defense at this point. I remember seasons where, like, bottom-feeding teams like the Jets or the Browns had the best defense in the league, but nobody really cared. Nobody really cared, and it didn't really matter because they were so fucking bad on the other side of the ball. And that's the Texans now. That's the Texans now. That's us. Unbelievable defense. The defense is so fun to watch. These dudes are swarming. They're flying to the football. They're getting stops. They're bringing the energy. And then the offense is the exact opposite. Lifeless, pathetic, relentlessly disappointing. That's how I would describe the Texans' offense this season. Relentlessly disappointing. So, regardless of how effective the defense is, by the end of the game, they're gassed, which is how you get a situation like the one I'm about to describe to you. Denver punted the ball to the Texans with 1 minute, 21 seconds remaining in the entire game, and the Broncos had 2 timeouts left. The game was tied 15-15. Somehow, some way, Denver not only got the ball back and won the game, they didn't have to use a timeout except to set up the game-winning field goal. If there is 1 minute and 21 seconds left in a tie game and you are receiving a punt, ideally, you should either win that game or be forcing overtime. Ideally. You have to run the ball there and get to overtime. We held the ball for just 24 fucking seconds, man. With 1 minute and 14 seconds in the game. Davis Mills, incomplete pass to the right, intended for Christian Kirk. With 1 minute and 9 seconds left in the game, Davis Mills passed to Jaden Higgins for a 4-yard gain. With 1 minute and 5 seconds left in the game, Davis Mills, incomplete pass to the right. With 1 minute left in the game, Tommy Townsend punts the football. My God, does this team miss Joe Mixon. And it's not like the offense had shown any capability to move the football in the second half up to that point that could somehow lead you to believe that they had a reasonable chance of getting into field goal range here. At that point, they had achieved 3 points in the second half off a field goal to end a 6-play drive that moved the ball 24 yards. Outside of that, they punted 5 times across 5 drives, achieving a total of 44 yards in offense across those 5 drives. And how the fuck do we keep getting inside the 2-yard line and failing to score a touchdown? It happened twice against the Broncos. Inside the 2-yard line, and you're settling for field goals. That hurts. It hurts. Texans coaches at this point should just tell our players, lateral the ball if you are about to be tackled inside the 5-yard line. That's the only hope we have of scoring a touchdown. If we are inside the 5, the drive is over. Death by 1,000 negative yardage plays at the goal line. This team's kryptonite is being inside the 1-yard line. How, Sway? Against the Broncos, the Texans were 3 for 17 on third down. And 2 of those conversions came in their first drive of the game. After C.J. Stroud went down, Davis Mills converted a third down in the second quarter on 3rd and 4, and that was it. That was the last third down conversion the Texans offense achieved in this game. We didn't have a single one in the second half. Lowest completion percentages by an NFL quarterback this season where they still got a win. Number 1, Bo Nix versus the Texans. That's the lowest at 48.6% completion percentage. The lowest. Number 2, Trevor Lawrence versus the Texans. That's the second lowest at 50%. And then the 6th lowest is Sam Darnold versus the Texans at 54.8%. God almighty, is this offense letting this defense down? Every single statistic from this Broncos game reads like a cruel joke. The Texans and Broncos both had 15 first downs. The Texans had 268 total yards. The Broncos had 271. We actually ran 11 more offensive plays than the Broncos. We didn't turn the ball over, and the Broncos had 2 turnovers. We had the ball for 9 minutes longer than the Broncos. We only committed 4 penalties for 29 yards as a team, and yet we still lost somehow. Someone in the press pool after the game asked D'Amico Ryans if Nick Caley would still call plays this week. D'Amico's response was a question. Why would he not call plays? Well, Coach, nobody answered the question for you in that press conference, but I will answer it for you now, because he fucking sucks at it. That's why he wouldn't call plays, because he's not good at it. And we're trying to win football games. That was what the question asker was inferring. He's not good. Somebody's trying to get you to at least remark on that Nick Caley has been extremely disappointing as an offensive coordinator. And personnel decisions continue to be baffling as well. Jalen Noel, who was one of our leading receivers the prior 2 weeks against both the Seahawks, where he had 4 catches for 77 yards, and the 49ers, where he had 5 catches for 63 yards, Jalen Noel played just 11 snaps against the Broncos. Jalen Noel played 11 snaps, 15% of the snaps. He was not targeted a single time. Jaden Higgins was targeted once. So Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel were targeted a combined 1 time against the Broncos. Extreme Brian Windhurst voice. Now, why is that? Why would they do that? I don't have an answer. The Texans offense achieved 87 yards and 3 points in the second half. So if you're one of those Muppets out there who has been saying Davis Mills might be better for this team than C.J. Stroud, it's time for you to find a new hobby. And I'm not hating on the neck. I think the neck has one hell of an arm and one hell of a neck. But you need more than just a cannon and a thick tree trunk for a neck to be an NFL quarterback. Every single point the Texans scored in this game came off Fairbairn's fat foot. 5 for 6 for 15 points for the Texans' all-time leading scorer, our fucking kicker. Not a single point except from field goals. And of course, the one he missed cost us the game. Brutal. Oh, and Fairbairn is out on Sunday against the Jags. Good times. In 2023, the Texans were 7-3 in one-score games. In 2024, the Texans were 7-5 in one-score games. In 2025, the Texans are 0-5 in one-score games. The Texans have scored 4 offensive touchdowns total in their 5 losses this season. In the 5 games we lost, we scored 4 offensive touchdowns. The Texans are 1-10 in the red zone in those 5 losses as well. 10 trips to the red zone in 5 games, all of which they lost, and they converted 1 of those red zone trips out of 10. That's 10%, if you want to do the math. So yeah, things aren't going super great. C.J. Stroud and Kaimi Fairbairn are out against the Jaguars. And if this team wasn't frustrating enough to watch when C.J. Stroud was healthy, we are in for a real painful experience as long as he is in concussion protocol and not out on the field. And with Fairbairn out, God knows what's going to happen. I know we brought in another kicker. I don't know his name. I don't care. But we lost that first game to the Jags that we should have won. Here's our second one coming up on Sunday. We don't have a quarterback. We don't have a kicker. We don't have an offense. And the next 5 games are Jags, Titans, Bills, Colts, Chiefs. So these next 2 weeks were 2 very winnable games if we have CJ Stroud. But without him, they may signal the death knell on this season. Because if you've got confidence in this team scoring enough points to beat the Bills, the Colts, or the Chiefs, share the strain, brother. Share the strain. I want to smoke whatever you are smoking. So we have gone from looking down the barrel of having a chance to turn the season around. Let's pretend we won that Broncos game, which we should have. And if CJ doesn't go down, we do win that game against the Broncos. So let's pretend we won that game. Then we almost certainly beat the Jags and the Titans. That's a win streak. That's momentum going into arguably the toughest 3-week stretch of the season against the Bills, Colts, and Chiefs. But that's not what happened. So now we're looking down the barrel of I assume we can beat the Titans without CJ Stroud if, in fact, he is not back, which, last season when he got concussed, he missed the next 2 weeks. So I'm going to assume CJ will not be back. But I'm going to also assume we can beat the Titans because the Titans are that bad and our defense is that good. We only need to, it's going to be like 10-6 Texans win. Okay? And then we're not beating the Bills, the Colts, or the Chiefs in all likelihood. It's just not likely. Mathematically, it's unlikely. So that's 4 losses in 5 weeks there. It's just devastating to our chances of making the playoffs considering how good the Colts have been this season, even though they finally got another loss. So it's a bad spot. And I feel really genuinely bad for the team at this point because I want to see these guys succeed. I want to see them win. I'm not tuning into all these games to be let down and disappointed. And if I feel let down and disappointed, imagine how it must feel to be on the team. Imagine how it must feel to coach the team. Imagine how it must feel to be DeMeco Ryans when you're rolling out the number 1 defense in the NFL, but your team can't stack any wins because your rookie offensive coordinator that you hired cannot get shit going on the other side of the ball. And this is all falling on Nick Caley. And with every passing week, the pressure builds on Nick Caley. And with every passing week, the seat that he is sitting in gets hotter. And when you're a rookie, first-time offensive coordinator in the NFL, and this is your situation where the whole fan base, and now really every NFL fan and commentator and talking head, is all looking at you going, hey, Nick, what the fuck? That's a lot to deal with, man. That's a lot to deal with. It makes it even tougher to turn things around. So it's a brutal situation. A really tough spot that the Texans are in as a team. And it could end up being just an altogether extremely disappointing season. And maybe in the offseason, we fire Nick Caley, we get another offensive coordinator, and things look great next season. Maybe that's the case. But as far as this season goes, with every passing week and every disappointing loss that's a 1-score loss that could have been, should have been a win, might have been a win if you had had your quarterback healthy, or this had happened, or that had happened, or one break went the other way, it just gets more and more devastating. And it sucks, man. It sucks. I think we all had really high hopes for the season. And especially, losing Bobby Slowick finally and feeling like he was maybe the anchor that was holding this ship back. And then you get a new guy and things are worse. And then your quarterback gets injured in a huge game against the Broncos, who have been good this season, and we made them look very, very human. And you've got the number 1 defense in football, but you can't stack wins because things just can't get going on offense. You can't score enough points. And this is where, if you've been paying attention to Kevin Durant on Twitter right now, Houston Rockets starting Hall of Fame 2-time champion Kevin Durant, he's been arguing with people for several days that offense wins championships. And, it goes against the grain of people who said defense wins championships, right? That's a saying in all of sports. And this is why I agree with him. We have the defense. Some of those Jets teams had defenses, the number 1 defense. Some Browns teams have had number 1 defenses, top 3 defenses. They still didn't win shit because if you can't score points in sports, you can't win in sports. You need points in sports. You got to score in sports. Offense is very, very important. You could still win a championship with the best offense in the league and a shitty defense. You cannot win a championship with the best defense in the league and a shitty offense. So I understand Kade's argument. I also realize he's just trolling his balls off because that's what he does. But the point is, having the number one defense in the NFL clearly is not enough to carry you to wins if your offense is as incapable of scoring points as Nick Caley's offense on this Houston Texans team is. And that's that. If you were looking for me to talk more Rockets, speaking of Kevin Durant, I'm going to do a separate episode. I could not diminish the Rockets' positivity by mixing it with this Texans' negativity and disappointment. It didn't feel fair. So I'll do a whole separate episode just for the Rockets, and that will do it for today's show. Remember, we have new episodes dropping every Monday and Friday on normal weeks where one of my kids does not get a stomach bug and full body explode all over my house. We're on all the podcast platforms as well as youtube.com/@bangingthecan, where if you are watching right now, I am talking to you, I am looking at you, I am pointing at you. Hit the subscribe button, subscribe to our channel, hit the like button on this video, like this video, turn on notifications on our channel so you are notified every single time we drop a new episode, and please comment in the comment section on YouTube, giving me your thoughts on Texans Broncos, what the next 5 weeks look like, where the team goes from here, and what your expectations are for the rest of the season. I want to know. If you're watching or listening on Spotify, there's a comment section there as well. You can leave comments on Spotify. You can watch full episodes on Spotify, not just listen. If you're on Spotify, give us a 5-star rating. We appreciate that. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star rating. Write a review of our show. These things all help us grow. And this is a new show, a small show, a little bitty show. And we would like to grow big and strong one day. So if you could do all that, and share the most unapologetic Houston sports show in existence with your friends and family. Tell your people about Banging the Can. Send them a link to this episode if you enjoyed it. Share the show. Help us grow. Follow us on social media at Banging the Can, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Threads at Banging the Can. I am Ross Bolen. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at WRBolen. And speaking of social media, whenever you come across one of our clips, share it. Put it in your story on Instagram. If you're on Twitter, retweet it. Do your thing. Help us grow. I'll be back Monday to discuss the results of Texans-Jaguars. Until next time, H-Town, stay down.